Hello, my name is Kalani. I'm an artist. I like drawing. Um, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I started taking it seriously around 9 years old, which is pretty young. Um, but I just had like a little spark at that age where I realized this is something that, really, really makes me happy and really speaks to me. And since I've been doing it for so long, I've had a lot of ups and downs with it. Especially for the last few years because I started doing it professionally. I started freelancing and I wasn't working for any particular studio or anything like that. I was just living off of commissions. Um and it burnt me out a lot. It burnt me out. It made it hard to be creative again, and I'm still only now starting to come back into that. And I don't know, I don't have a real purpose, I don't have a real subject to talk about. I just think that it's nice to just speak openly about how that was hard for me. Um, because it was hard, and people hear, like, oh, you're doing art for a job, that's such a privilege, that's all this and that. And, like, yes, absolutely, it is a privilege to be able to do that. It was a privilege to be able to do that for as long as I did. But like any job, it was hard. A job's a job for a reason. It's a job because other people don't want to do it or can't do it. It's a job because maybe they don't have the knowledge to do it. You know what I mean? So in that sense, it was hard. And it was even harder feeling like, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that without, being ungrateful. But I don't do that full time anymore. It's gone back to just being a hobby. And I still want to do commissions every so often just because I think it would be good to do. Um at least in my circumstances. But for the most part, it's gone back to just being a hobby, and I think it's better that way. Because, I don't know, at least for me, when I was doing it full time, it got to a point where it very much felt like my hands weren't my own, which is a very dramatic way of putting it, but it was like I was making things, I was making these animations, I was making these illustrations, I was making, all these VTubers, because that's something that I also did. I was doing all these different things that people were using, and, I would see it online, I would see people posting it or using it or anything like that, and it didn't register that it was mine, because it didn't feel like anything that I would ever make. I didn't feel the love that went into it, because a lot of times, it's hard to admit, but there wasn't much love going into it. I kind of had to do it, and I had to take things on that I didn't like working on, just because I needed to. It was my job. I don't always get to do things that I like, and I just kind of had to go with it. Um, and yeah, doing that for a long time, taking something that you love to the point where you can't do it in your own free time anymore is sad, because my art is a very big part of who I am. It's not the only thing about me, but it's definitely a big part of me, and it definitely played a big part in making me who I am today, in the ways that I express myself and the things that I like. It's just a very big part of me. So to have that almost what's the word? Just like turned completely into work. It was no more something like that made me happy. That was a part of me. That was like this beautiful thing about me. It was just work. It was just money. And it made me very sad. It made me very depressed because art is my main form of expression. You know, when I'm going through something, sometimes talking about it doesn't help, so I make art, I make stories, I make drawings or animations. And I feel understood because I feel like people see that. And even if they don't understand the specific situation, they can understand the feeling, and that's what I want. They don't need to understand the situation, they need to understand how I'm feeling. So in that sense, you know, art is very important to me and how I express myself, so to not be able to do that was very, very damaging to my mental health. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I just wanted to talk about how I've only recently gotten my spark back when it comes to being creative, and it's been nice. It's been nice to have that part of myself back. It's been nice to go to work and to think, oh, I want to go home and I want to draw, or oh, I want to go home and I want to make this animation idea that I had, or make like little doodles at work that I can clean up later on when I get home. It's been nice to have that desire again, instead of finishing drawing for the day for other people and then not being able to do it for myself. It's been nice. So hopefully I can make more little videos. They don't need to be perfect, they don't need to be for anybody, they're just things that I want to make, and I think that's nice. So thank you for listening. Bye bye.